Thank you for joining me again in our ongoing conversation about the themes that are so important to us, not just in the Advent season, but in our lives. And we're going to continue today with our subject for this week, which is peace. And to start us off, I have a quote from Wayne Dosick. We all desperately want peace. That is why shalom is such an oft-used word. For even as a simple greeting, it embodies a deep yearning and a solemn promise. So the ancient sage Hillel insisted that it is not enough to simply want peace, to hope for peace, even to pray for peace. He taught us to, quote, love peace and actively pursue peace. That's a lot to think about, even just with that quote. But now let's move on and hear the words to the hymn that is chosen for today. This is hymn 593. It's often known as the prayer of St. Francis, and it really focuses our hearts and our attentions on the idea of peace. And so, let's take a deep breath, settle into where we are, help our hearts and our minds to focus. Lord, make us servants of your peace. Where there is hate, may we so love. Where there is hurt, may we forgive. Where there is strife, may we make one. Where all is doubt, may we sow faith. Where all is gloom, may we sow hope. Where all is night, may we sow light. Where all is tears, may we sow joy. Jesus, our Lord, may we not seek to be consoled, but to console, nor look to understanding hearts, but look for hearts to understand. May we not look for love's return, but seek to love unselfishly. For in our giving, we receive, and in forgiving are forgiven. Dying, we live, and are reborn through death's dark night to endless day. Lord, make us servants of your peace, to wake at last in heaven's light. Probably one of the saints who is most closely associated with peace, St. Francis of Assisi, was an incredible example of how to lead a peaceful existence. He came from a wealthy family and, as a young man, decided to give away his inheritance and simplify his whole life. He's often depicted as being surrounded by animals, communing with nature, and connecting not just with his fellow human beings, but with all of God's creatures. The Order of St. Francis, known commonly as the Franciscans, was created by him. And people who joined that organization, or the Organization for Women, which was the Order of St. Clare, vow to live lives of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So in 1219, Francis went to Egypt in an attempt to convert the then Sultan Al-Kamil and put an end to the conflict that was the Fifth Crusade. The Sultan had succeeded his father as Sultan of Egypt in 1218 and was encamped upstream. And there was a bloody and futile attack on the city of Damietta. And this was launched by the Christians in August of 1219. And both sides finally, after fierce fighting, agreed to a ceasefire that lasted about 4 weeks. During this interlude, Francis and his companions crossed into the Muslim territory and were brought before the Sultan. And they stayed in his camp for a few days at least. Now, we have no reports that give information about exactly what transpired during the encounter, beyond noting that the Sultan received Francis graciously and that Francis preached to the Muslims. After the few days of being in their camp, he returned unharmed. Francis risked his own life in order to start the conversation between two sides that were fighting. And this willingness to give up his own safety to try to bring peace around is a prime example of how Francis really embodied working toward peace in his lifetime. From the Gospel of Matthew, in the Beatitudes of the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God." So, what do we have questions that are stirring around in our head? Well, I have a few for you, not surprisingly. First off, what can we do to, as shalom implies, actively pursue peace? Have you ever encountered people who carry long-term grudges and they seem to have anger and hatred towards another group of people or another person in particular? What can we do to help to diffuse tension between two groups of people? And finally, there is a well-known report that has put together the idea of how to have civil discourse between two opposing points of view. And the first indication of the ability to have that is when both sides agree to respect the other person or the other side. How do you feel that respecting another's experiences can help anyone to lead to a peaceful conversation and hopefully the entire idea of peace between two people or two groups of people? Peace on both the personal level and on the global level often seems like it's going to be impossible to come by, but it is only through God's grace that we are able to learn how to engage with each other, not just civilly, but peacefully, and in a way that will lead to God's peace here on earth. And so I'll leave you with those thoughts for today and hope you will be able to join me again tomorrow. And until then, take care and God bless.